Welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. You have the OGs back. Dawn and Lori are back. We're going to do a fun topic today. We have been, I think for like the last month or so, just been interviewing some of our summit speakers. And if you don't have your ticket yet to join us, you can join us online. Right down here, just hit mysummitticket.com. Go to mysummitticket.com. We have online tickets, so you could be in the room with us via Zoom, right? So don't forget to do that. But today, we're going to talk about something Dawn had mentioned in one of our member meetings. Today, we were talking about like employee retention and how to build the staff you really want, right? Like, I love our current staff. Like every single person gives me life on our staff. And everyone has all different personalities and experience, but I have definitely worked in places before where that was not the case, right? And, when a staff member is not, doing their job, then that causes you to have to do more work. And then on the owner's side, most, at least in our industry, we're like 90% women. So I feel like a lot of women don't like to have hard conversations because we're emotional. And so today we're just going to kind of talk through how to prepare your staff to be the best staff that they can, like tips that Dawn has used, things I have seen, things I have used that really empower your staff, but also how to have those hard conversations. So Dawn, can you think of like a particular story or a time, or how real is the struggle in having to have like hard conversations with staff?
So I have several examples I could probably give, but it is hard. I think there's because you begin to develop relationships with these people, and let's be honest, you spend more time with them most days than you do with your own family, and so you're bound to have all the feels. You're bound to have some of that. Whether there's times of just love and appreciation, there's times of just some bitterness or resentment, jealousy. We're normal, we're human. And so having all these feels are normal for everybody, broad spectrum. It happens. And then to top that off, me having a full team of all females. And so just like you said, you have a full team of all females who have all the feels all the time. We're emotional at times. We just have stuff that happens in life. And so sometimes you are noticing that their lives, sometimes there's some overlap there and it's coming into the workplace. And so having difficult conversations for my first couple of ones was really hard. I had to go to my husband. This is before I got even smarter. I love my husband, but I got a business coach. And so, because my husband's like, just toughen up, let it roll off your shoulders. It's fine. And I'm like, honey, it's not fine. Like, I really like this person. And I just want them to learn from this and not feel anger and not feel resentment towards me by my words. And words can hurt. And I want them to learn from them and not have them hurt them. So with that said, I mean, all of this is going to lead to you and I, Lori, talking about coaches, business coaches, and the importance of a business coach. I had a business coach. I had somebody who was outside, third party, gave me advice when I had to have these difficult conversations because I just wanted to make sure that my point was coming across, but I wasn't allowing my emotion to be felt in it. And that is very, very hard to do. Like I said, because you develop relationships with these people and they're a part of your family to a certain extent. And so it's very, very hard. So I got smart, got a business coach, third party. My husband, sometimes when he would tell me things or give me advice, then I would get mad at him. I started getting emotional at him because he wasn't telling me, I think, what I needed to hear. And he was more just telling me, toughen up, you need thicker skin. And he loves me. And that's all that, he didn't know what to say because he's not in the industry. So He's not in the business coach industry. He's not in the design industry.
Well,
He makes,
also, our husbands, men generally were created to be fix-it.
yes,
So, this could turn into a whole husband conversation, right? Because I know you and I both have extraordinary husbands and they
yes,
love us so dearly and they want to fix the problem.
yes.
And to them, they're like, well, here's the problem. Here's the solution. Where's the breakdown? Like, what aren't you getting? And then just that question alone hurts our feelings. So there's that.
There is that. Yes, you're right. That's spot on. So in the meeting, Lori, I know we talked with Jana and she gave some great pointers to her Excel team. They had some really great, deep conversation. But I chimed in and I love that Jana asked if we had anything to give. And I did. When I talked with my employees, when I talked to certain individuals, even if it was another designer that I had lunch with, another vendor or somebody that worked for me as a 1099, I asked the same question to everybody. And I still ask this question to this day. I asked this question to an employee. If you saw my story, we talked about it last week. She had her truck stolen. That was the question I texted her and said, and it was, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? When you do that, or when you notice that there's an employee showing up late, when you notice that there's an employee who comes in and they are just kind of on their phone, on social media, when they're not supposed to be, they're not the social media person.
Like when they're,
I was like, yeah, I actually get paid to be on social media, so I better be careful. It's recognizing something's different with them, something's off. And so instead of calling them in and saying, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And instead of pointing out the immediate problem that you're seeing, you need to just say, what can I do for you? And then when they look at you, then you can lead into, I've just noticed some things and I want to make sure you're okay. What can I do for you? And it brought great results, and it broke down this guard that people have up because I'm at work. I need to have tough skin. And we had some real conversations. And I think that they also sensed the transparency in my voice and saying, look, I might not agree with something that's happened, but I'm still the boss and I'm here for you. I'm nothing. Dawn's Designs was nothing without my team. As much as I want to say that I was great, I was nothing without my team. My team made me great and I made them great. It was a partnership. And so I love that. And so those were my advice, or those were my questions that I still give to this day. So I don't know. What do you think, Lori? What are your thoughts?
I definitely want to share something that happened to me as an employee. So we're going to like rewind here like 20 some years ago. And when you were talking about that, like when you said, what can I do for you? I used to work for Walker Furniture in Las Vegas. That was like my first real job. I was a single mama. And I was also in a abusive relationship, domestic violence. And I was very good. Here's the thing is I thought very good at putting the mask on, like, okay, I'm just going to go into work and everything's going to be fine, even though I may have gotten in a fight or been hit or something like that before I walked into work, right? And so I would walk in and I had worked at that place for probably about 3 years at this time. So I'm very, as we know, very loyal person. And so, I work at places a really long time. And so I had this manager, her name was Danya Monroe. She was a UNLV, I believe, former basketball player. She was so tall and like, she would hold me accountable. So when you were telling your story about asking the employee, like, what do you need? She would sit me in her office, and however she did it, she literally, I remember crying multiple times because she was the one person that I couldn't put the mask on for, or I couldn't front enough. Like she could see through it. Right. And she held me accountable and she wouldn't let me just be whatever. Like, she would say, you're here to work, you're here to whatever, but also like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And I just thought that was, when you said that, I literally remembered her name for 20 years ago. I mean, my goodness. So Danya, if you're watching, you really saved me and helped me. But as an employee, I think you have different types of employees, and we talk about this a lot at HSRA. We talk about your A employees and your B employees. However, I believe that there is kind of a stigma when you get hired as a job, and depending on the pay, right? So the higher the pay, the more responsibility you just assume as a person getting hired. So the staging industry isn't the highest paying job. So a lot of people do just see what they're doing for a staging company or design company as a job, right? They don't see any investment for them in it. They just think they're clocking in and clocking out. And so after a certain amount of time, I feel like a lot of employees naturally just kind of give up. Like they're just like, yeah, whatever. Hostility happens. People, get offended. Like you said, we are 90% women. Our feelings get hurt. And they start to harbor like bad feelings or thoughts, and that affects their work. And so can you imagine what happens to an employee when maybe their feelings were hurt? Maybe they don't like confrontation. Maybe they don't like to talk about what's going on, or they don't think that it's even going to hit home for the manager. Honestly, so many times employees genuinely think that their bosses don't care about them. They just think that their bosses see them as a number or someone who's going to bring in money for them. So the moment that a manager or the business owner stops to show an invested interest in something, to say, hey, Lori, you're really slacking, or you're not paying attention, or you missed this, or what's going on with you? You're not your normal self. You're late to work. Maybe it's like, I noticed this bruise on you. Like what's going on with you? And they don't have to tell you, but if they do and they open up to you, I guarantee you that person is going to work so hard for you. They're going to go above and beyond, because at the end of the day, all employees want to really, really want is they want to have a job, obviously, that they get paid for, but they want to feel valued, because they know when you work for somebody, when you do something, you're adding value to that company. If they're not adding value to the company, then they probably don't need to be with the company. But they know that they have a skill and experience or something that is adding value. So why wouldn't you value the employee or the staff member? And so coming from that perspective, I think that it's really important. And I love Dawn, and I know that's why you had such a great relationship with your staff. I would see it when you would come to Summit. They loved you. They did a good job for you. But then it's a little bit easier to have the real conversations, even though it might be harder for you, the business owner, because you're like, man, I really love Lori. She's so fun, but man, she keeps making the same mistake. So that's where policy and procedure comes in. So you can still love Lori and she can still be fun and great. But if Lori's not following the policies and procedures that the company has set, now you're not attacking Lori or having a talk with Lori. It boils down to, hey, Lori, did you know we updated this policy? Or I was just checking in. This has happened a few times, but did here's the policy or whatever. It's going back to that. The policy is the focus, not the fact that the person you love so much is telling you, hey, you're not doing a good job. So make sure that you have policy and procedures in place, and take the extra step to have the conversation with your staff if you want them to stick around for a while. And so, Dawn, give me an example, because I know so many people on here probably are like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to have to fire someone that I like so much. But it happens. And guess what? The boss cries a little when they get home or has an extra glass of wine. But sometimes it's great for everyone. So can you give us an example?
I can. I have a couple of them, and I was very blessed. I had a lot of great staff. My problem was, as I began to open up the design side of my business, I had stagers. We were set, and we were good where we were at. And I had shuffled through a couple of stagers that were just not good fits, but great people. But the first actual person I had to let go was a designer. She had a 4-year degree. She had all the credentials, the list from A to B. The one thing that she lacked that I needed was experience. And so she came in and she had the paperwork, and I love that. I love that she took the time to invest in herself. She had the education. But for my business, she did not have experience, and that my business was not at a place where I could really hold a hand and walk her through some of those things that I needed her to do. I needed somebody with experience. And the deeper we got into a very large commercial project that I had, the more I started to realize that she was not the fit for my company or for the project itself. So I had to let her go. And that was hard. She's, again, great person, great personality, had a great education, did not have the experience that I needed. I had to let her go, and it hurt. And she, her and I, she was emotional. I was, came home and had an extra glass of wine thinking I got to find somebody with experience. And so all that to say, I ended up hiring a great designer that did not have a college degree. But she had over 20 years experience working with a builder. She had everything that I needed. And so it did work out well in the end for me. And then I continued to stay friends with the girl that was a designer I had to let go. She moved on. She started her own business. It was great success for both of us, but it was, in the moment, it was really, really hard to let somebody go with so much experience that she had worked so hard for right after high school. And for me to say it's still not enough it was devastating for me to have to say that, because she did work really hard, and I had to remind her of that. You're going to find your way. But for Dawn's Designs, for my business, I'm not at a place that I can really hold your hand right now. I got to have somebody that can jump in, sink or swim right now, because we are knee deep in these projects. And I need somebody that's worked with contractors, with vendors, somebody that has a backbone. When a contractor says this, you're going to stand up and you're going to know the answer from experience. And you're going to say, no, Mr. Contractor, this is the way that it works. And I need us to work together on this. And so a lot of times, the newer students or newer designers didn't have that. They hadn't had that experience yet. And so I obviously wish the best for her, but it was so hard to let her go because she was such a sweetheart. So as you can tell, it still hurts me a little in my chest.
I know, but you probably helped her to say, like, oh, I'm going to start my own business. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of those times, those hard conversations, like I think about all the different jobs that I had, which weren't actually that many because I usually stay around a while. But I remember at my a job I had at AST, which was I was administrator, and it was in the medical field, and they have really strict HIPAA policy, really strict, right? And I had accidentally sent to a wrong email. And if I recall correctly, it wasn't even like, it was like one extra letter or something in the email, right? So they don't know where it went. That wasn't my supervisor's fault. That was 100% my fault, right? Plus, HIPAA, it's just a process. It's a procedure. There's no gray area. It's not like, Lori, you're so great. You do such a good job. You come in every day. You're trusted. You're loyal. You do hard work. It was like, you made this mistake and it's 100% wrong. Like, there's no gray area. And she had to write me up, and I was so devastated. Like, I felt so bad about myself, and it wasn't anyone's fault. Those things just happen. And I feel like in the design industry, in the staging industry, it's such a weird niche that we're in when we're talking about building the business, because we're not corporate and we're not like mom and pop either, right? We're kind of in between, and we have to have this perfect molding in order to grow, to have some corporate and some lenience with, like, the mom and pop stuff. You make your own decisions. And for any staging or design business owner, I want to tell you that the best way to start, I know there's several of you that watch this that you're just about to either bring on a full-time employee or maybe bring on another staff member. If you don't have your policies and procedures together right now, block a day off of your calendar, go stay at a fun Airbnb and just rock that out. And so policies and procedures on when to arrive at work, where to park at work, what's acceptable, everything to like lunches and breaks and all of that stuff, and do videos. All you have to do is have a Zoom account. You can record it, save it to the Google Cloud or Google Drive, and have links to onboarding and have these people watch these things. It's going to make your life so much better, because when you bring the people in, when you give them the proper training, when you reach out to find out what they're experiencing, what challenges are they having, and you ask them, how can I help you? Then when they fail, then it's not personal, it's procedural. It makes that very much easier. So do that. Give yourself, a weekend away and just rock it out. Bite the nail, just do the thing. It will make your life so much easier, because in order to build a really strong and healthy staff, you have to have a perfect balance of respect, fun. People have to enjoy their job. If they don't enjoy coming to work, yes, we have bad days. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, we get exhausted, especially in our industry, but genuinely, are they happy to come to work every day? If they're not, you have a problem. They're going to eventually start dropping the ball and costing you money, right? And so, but you also have to have the rules in place to protect you as the business owner, as well as the staff themselves, right? So definitely put those things in place. We're going to be talking about this kind of stuff at Summit. So I'm excited for that. But also, if you're not like an HSRA member and you need help with your procedures, reach out. We can definitely help you with that. We have so many training modules. It's not even funny. You can literally just create your whole procedure book. I don't know. But so Dawn, to wrap up today, your very best advice for staging and design owners on building a rockstar team.
Ooh, that's hard. I think my number one word is listen. Be mindful and listen. And I think communication. With my team, I tried my best. I was not perfect. But my communication was thanking them and reminding them. They always joked, I'm an analogy queen. I love analogies. I think that it just breaks things down for a lot of people, because sometimes we're just caught in the busy of life. So my analogy to them was, I might be the quarterback during this play. You might be the quarterback during this play, but don't let me get tackled. You have to have my back, and I'm going to have your back. I'll be your lineman. I'll be your, I am your teammate and you are mine. And reminding them that we're in this together. Every project we have together. Even if they're on the back end, even if they're just giving their advice. I loved it that we could meet as a team and look at what our designer pulled together for a kitchen design or for a bathroom design. And we gave our input. And so even though they weren't the specific designer on the project, the quarterback, they were part of the team. And so to have a great team is to communicate and to listen and to remind them, because you are nothing without your employees or your team, right? They have to be great in order for you to be great, and you have to be great in order for them to be great. And I think you have to remember that. And there's just humility involved in that. As an owner, I would tell people to knock me off my high horse if I ever got too high, because I never wanted to lose my humility and my appreciation for what God gave me and for what they brought to the table. So those are my 2 cents.
Nice. I was going to end with that, but I really do have a question I think will be valuable. You said that you would always tell them if I ever got on my high horse to knock you down, right? Like to basically humble you or whatever. That's kind of hard, right? As an employee, right? So if I'm thinking I would never knock Jana off of her high horse, Are you kidding me? However, so how would an employee do that? So how would you relate? I'm your staff member and you're telling me this. So what would that look like in a respectful, nice way? Like, give me a scenario.
Well, I'll give you a scenario with one of my designers who, again, you've developed relationships with these people and you get to know them. And my daughter's really good at it. And it just is one word. When I start to become a little bit too much on my high horse, they all look at me and go, Dawn. And they just tilt their head. And that's all I need to know. I need to take it down a notch. Like I'm up here and I need to remember I need to be down here. And so it's as you get to know them, you have these conversations and you remind them to just look at you. If you're in a project, have them just tap your shoulder. I've had them do that before. Like I get heated or I'm in a moment and they'll just tap my shoulder. And that's my instant reminder. I need to simmer down. I need to take it down a notch because this is not about Dawn. This is about my client and this is about what's best for my client. This is about my team and how to make them look good. This is not about Dawn. It is at the end of the project, at the end of the day. Right. But again, it's us. We're together. We're in it together. So right.
I just always think, like, even when I think back on all my positions I've had in my life, I feel like it's I remember one time, I know what the story's here today, but I remember in junior high, I got in trouble for talking back to, I think like my science teacher or something. I got called, which I'm not that type of person really, but she really made me mad or I was having a bad day. I don't know. But anyway, I remember my mom telling me like, always respect your elders, whether they're your elder physically, like they're older than you or they're in a leadership position, always respect your elders. And so thinking back, I think that it's so great if a owner and an employee can have such a relationship that one, the owner has given them permission. I know that Janet and I have had so many conversations over the years about like, just in general, like people giving you unsolicited advice or try to tell you what you need to do. And her and I have always had this agreement. We've had the talk candidly, just like, I've told her, Jana, I always, even if you see something, you are invited to have those conversations with me. And she said it back, right? So like also the same, but knowing how that is, maybe like you said, it is a code word where you're not disrespecting them because you never want to disrespect your boss or leader or owner in front of anyone else. So, even just in practice in your general staff, like you always praise in front of people and you have the hard conversations behind closed doors. Nobody needs to be humiliated or brought down or any of that, right? So like you said, hey guys, if I'm getting a little feisty out at this job today, just tap me on the shoulder, rub me on the back, just like, it's all good. You got this, whatever that code word is, that, because what that does do, I could see is that saves the company's image, right? And we're all protecting the company, and employees need to be protecting their leadership and their bosses, and the leadership and the bosses need to be having the backs of their employees. And if you can do that, you're a genius, first of all. And second of all, you will have a very successful staff and team. And I believe you'll be a very profitable company because you guys will all be there for the greater purpose of just building the business. So awesome. Well, I can't wait to see you next week, Dawn. It's going to be crazy. So it has been crazy. I can't believe Summit's already here. So I'll see you next week. You guys, I think we're going to be here next week. We might be doing this live together, just one person, because we should be in the same place at the same time. So that would be amazing. That crazy, right? All right. So if you have any tips, advice, situations, or questions about how to build staff, how to talk to staff, how to get through the icky conversations, how to address another one, we'll talk about it for a different time, is what if an employee intimidates you? You're the owner. You've hired this person. They've charmed you on the front end. Now you have them and you're intimidated by them, especially like logistics and, you get into the guys and, all that. Now you're the boss and whatever, like we'll have to talk about that next time, how to deal with employees that intimidate, because it's a real thing. You think, oh, they're the boss, they could do whatever they want. No, for real. People intimidate you. So we'll be back next week, most likely 100%. Thanks so much, Dawn, for sharing, and we'll see you guys next week.